Welcome back to Unsolved Void. I'm David Paulides, and today we confront a chilling pattern we've mapped across our national parks and deep wilderness areas. The inexplicable disappearance of the most capable people, the hunters, the woodsmen, the seasoned survivalists. These are not simple cases of getting lost or succumbing to exposure. The evidence left behind, or the baffling lack thereof, defines the high strangeness that sets these incidents apart from typical accidents. We see a common signature in the cases we document: bizarre, unexplainable clues, seemingly impossible travel distances, and the complete failure of massive search operations. The signature of the void is always the same. It suggests a force more calculated than mere chance, a strange environmental factor that actively defies our established reality. These individuals aren't just getting lost. They are, quite literally, being erased from the landscape. Let's begin with the chaos near the water. Zeb Hughes, 21, and Gunnar Palmer, 16. In December 2020, they set out for a routine duck hunt on the mighty Mississippi River near Vicksburg. They were young, agile, and experienced in river conditions that were described as calm and fair that morning. But on the very next day, their capsized boat was discovered. A capsized boat is a tragedy, but their belongings were found riding along with the hull, largely intact. Yet there was no trace of Zeb, Gunnar, or even their hunting dog. Weeks of searching ensued, utilizing specialized aircraft, sonar drones, and dozens of human teams. The sheer volume of this multi-state search effort should have yielded something, anything, in the deep moving waters of the Mississippi. Yet they vanished completely. Did the river claim them, or did something beneath its powerful currents facilitate a far more sinister vanishing act? Next, we examine a clue so common in these inexplicable disappearances that it has become a macabre hallmark: the intentional, baffling removal of necessary clothing, specifically the boots. This is behavior that defines the high strangeness category. In November 2003, in the upper Missouri River breaks of Montana, 5 two-year-old experienced hunter Alan Ty vanished. His truck was located days later, deep in the wilderness, along the Missouri River. Inside the cab was an empty rifle case, and the most unsettling detail, his rugged hunting boots. The boots were found placed neatly side by side inside the vehicle. An experienced outdoorsman does not venture into rugged, cold terrain without his primary protection unless compelled by an immediate, profound psychological break or a reason beyond human comprehension. It's an act of sudden, profound irrationality that speaks to a force acting upon the victim. This paradoxical behavior was mirrored in the case of Aaron Hedges, who disappeared in the crazy mountains of Montana in 2014. After getting separated, his GPS showed him strangely heading far northeast, missing a clearly marked trail. This sudden change in vector is a critical piece of the pattern. When the search commenced, hampered by a sudden, intense snowstorm, they located his boots. Again, they were found meticulously placed side by side, along with a fire pit and some discarded backpack parts. This scene suggests organization combined with immediate panic. While conventional wisdom suggests hypothermia paradox, where a victim feels heat and removes clothes, consider the impossible distance. Aaron Hedges' skeletal remains were eventually found nearly 2 years later, 15 miles away from his starting point. This entire vast off-trail area was covered without the protection of his boots. Crucially, he perished within sight of a large, manned ranch house and a road. Hypothermia may cause disorientation, but it doesn't grant superhuman endurance followed by a sudden, fatal failure right at the doorstep of safety. It's a cruel game, suggesting he was guided to the very edge of salvation before being stopped. We now look at the search failures, the sheer inability of trained professionals to find victims located incredibly close to known points. Take Carl Crumrine, 69, who disappeared in Utah in 2019. After a search involving thousands of man-hours, his remains were discovered a year later, approximately 1 mile from his group's campsite. This 1 mile radius had been extensively and systematically searched by dogs and grid teams. The official explanation dense wooded area with fallen timber doesn't fully account for the failure of professional teams to locate a body within such a confined space. It suggests either a time anomaly in the area or that the body was intentionally hidden or dropped off by an unknown mechanism. Similarly, Barnett Barry Zeldin vanished from New Jersey's Warren Grove area in 2013. He left his Chevy Blazer with the keys in the ignition and his loyal dog, Taffy, waiting inside, having survived 4 days on corn. Barry, an avid hunter, simply walked out to check a deer stand and vanished. The sheer violation of leaving his beloved dog, which he cherished more than his own gear, is the single most compelling piece of evidence suggesting an external, immediate force was involved. He only planned a quick trip, yet his disappearance became permanent, right near an access road. When we examine the sum of this evidence, the organized gear abandonment, the sudden inability to navigate, the reappearance of remains in previously cleared zones, we must conclude that conventional accidents fail to explain this high strangeness pattern. I propose that these high strangeness disappearances are the result of encountering dimensional rifts, temporary seams in the fabric of space-time that manifest in these deep, ancient wilderness areas. The land itself is actively working against the searchers. These brief voids instantly disorient the individual, explaining the panicked clothing removal and the impossible treks. A hunter walking through one is suddenly in an environment where our physics and senses do not apply, leading to the bizarre behaviors we document. Tom Messick, the experienced Army veteran and survival instructor who vanished in 2015, left no trace of himself or his rifle despite weeks of searching. His case was so unusual, it prompted the involvement of the FBI. His total and sudden disappearance is consistent with being claimed by a rift pulled entirely out of our reality, leaving no residual scent or physical evidence for search dogs to follow. The wilderness, at times, is literally another dimension masquerading as our own. Consider the fate of Jerry Lee McKen, whose truck was found locked with the heater inexplicably on high in California in 2002. Or Jeremy Childers, who was swallowed by a sudden, localized patch of dense fog in Oregon. These are not coincidences. They are consistent environmental markers preceding a catastrophic vanishing event. The void seems to prefer the experienced, the ones who know the woods best, suggesting a test or a targeted selection by this unknown force. Why are some bodies returned to our dimension found near safety after months or years, while others, like Zeb Hughes and Gunnar Palmer, remain entirely missing? Friends, the wilderness holds secrets that our current science cannot explain. Be aware of your surroundings, be wary of sudden, localized fog, and always remember the signs of the vanishing hunters. For those who walk in the unsolved void, sometimes the greatest danger is not the beast you hunt, but the unseen space between two worlds. I'm David Paulides, and I'll talk to you next time.